Star Wisdom, Principles of Pleiadian Spirituality by Jean Andrade. Chapters 9, 10, and 11. Chapter 9. 79th Contact, July 16, 1977, which is Manifesting Obsidian Mirror Knife on the Divine Mayan Tzolk'in calendar. During the 79th Contact, Semjase talked at length about spirituality for the last time. To paraphrase her in my own words, only the fog of ego prevents a human from having a truly spiritual life. This egotism happens when the ego overstresses the importance and worth of itself. Then the dark thunderclouds of doubt and insecurities and other unworthy concerns hang over the person. Egotism and materialism thus imprison the person. The fear and sorrow of such a person are reasonless. Only when the sun of love rises above the horizon of the shadow ego will such thunderclouds disappear. Only then, by your awakening to true spirituality, will you find the inner security you desire. Unfortunately, at the present time, many people only awaken to spirituality at the moment they die. But when they reincarnate, they have to deal with the same type of circumstances as they did in their last life, if they haven't raised their level of spirituality. Only if they persevered in growing spiritually during the last lifetime will they reincarnate to a better life. It is you, by your own spiritual efforts, who determine your own fate. By the light of your spirit within, you see that it is the invisible power of spirit that governs life, not the outward visible things that control life. Many earth humans greatly fear their own death. They also fear losing the love of their living family when they die, or having a beloved one die. This is compounded by the ignorant belief that it is this life that is the only one, and you will never have another opportunity to live a life on the material plane. Many people also mistakenly believe that life is a chaotic jungle where survival demands a kill or be killed attitude. This is completely false, for cosmic creation consciousness guides all life in order to have constant, progressive evolution. Creation is orderly and is regulated by cosmic creation consciousness laws of logic, love, and truth. Within the great wheel of life and death, one experiences innumerable births and deaths. Birth and death complement each other and are two parts of one whole. Life does not strive against any one particular death, but against death itself by evolving beyond the need for the physical life-death cycle eventually. Life strides towards the ultimate goal, towards cosmic creation consciousness, towards universal consciousness. The purpose of life in the physical plane is to conquer the shadow ego, the small self, the little I, the me, and to enable the soul to evolve by awakening to your higher spiritual self. Your higher self is the cosmic creation consciousness self. While this is the most difficult of all things to achieve, it is the most beautiful, worthwhile, and highest goal of life. Achieving oneness with your creational self gives you the constant feeling of security of eternal existence. you see that behind your small self is your creational self. Your soul is part of the spiritual energy of cosmic creation consciousness itself, and so by awakening to it, you experience true freedom and you are released from all fears of any kind, especially the fear of death. This is the most wonderful of all things, to realize that one's very own self, one's original feeling of I, is beyond anything anyone can ever imagine, that one is of the infinite, the eternal, and the part of glorious cosmic creation consciousness itself. Whomever consciously unites themselves to their inner spirit understands that death is but the other side of life, and is no more to be feared than going to sleep at night. Just as you awaken from sleep to greet a new day, so do you awaken from death to greet a new life. Your spirit cannot ever die. Your soul is eternal. Turn to the real task of 3D earthly life, mastery of the physical plane of existence, mastery of the fine matter plane of existence, and realization that both planes are simultaneously existing in the same place and at the same time, but in different dimensions. The fine matter plane is the spiritual plane. Mastery in the physical requires and includes mastery in the spiritual. Pain and suffering are much more prevalent than joy and delight on earth at the present, but it need not be like this. Happiness and pleasure do not have to be balanced by pain and suffering as if they are two sides of the same coin. Humanity pays far too much attention to your suffering and much too little to your joy. You haven't yet learned how to distill the positive from your negative experiences, and you dwell on and therefore recreate the negative constantly. Realize the true destiny of humanity, and that will enable you to transform your circumstances and will guide you from darkness to light. You have billions and billions of years to grow and evolve, so don't worry too much about your life and your destiny right now. However, seize this opportunity of guidance from us, the Pleiadians, to reflect upon the truths that we have offered to you. So ended the last of Semjase's major expositions on spirituality. Chapter 10. Selected Semjase paraphrases from 1975 to 1978. In truth, we Pleiadians are human beings just like you, Earth human beings, except that our wisdom and technical level are much higher. Only cosmic creation consciousness has power of life and death over each creature. Creational laws are eternal and irrefutable. Humans can recognize these laws by observing nature. These laws show humanity a way of life leading to spiritual greatness. Humanity is now being led astray through the following of earth religions that are not based on truth. Their version of God is merely a ruler, a governor, and was a human being. He is not cosmic creation consciousness. Humanity deifies God and pretends that their version of God is cosmic creation consciousness. And humanity deludes themselves even more when they believe that Emmanuel, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, was God's one and only Son and is the cosmic creation consciousness itself. This is completely untrue. Modern channelers, some religious leaders, and other charlatans lie when they say we Pleiadians come on behalf of God to bring peace to humanity and to affirm earth religions and to protect man and to create a new world order that deifies man's anthropomorphic God. Cosmic creation consciousness itself never commands anything of anyone, because creation is all-powerful and is in no need of commands or religion or worship. Religion is just a primitive ruse by some humans and their masters who may be of extra-dimensional status to suppress, control, and exploit other human beings. It is because of these primitive earth religions that humanity has been in such spiritual darkness for over 2,000 years. We Pleiadians are not perfect, and we are not supermen. We have to develop ourselves and evolve spiritually just as you do, and just as everything in existence does. Those who say we are perfect, that we are angels or gods, are just fantasizing and projecting their own desire to put their responsibility to evolve onto something external, to abdicate their own personal responsibility. That is why you have so many religions on earth and so many versions of God, so you can put the responsibility all externally on some fantasy. Many people say we are superhumans, or that we are the watchers of Earth, and we are the controllers of the fate of humans. This is all completely false, as we are just human beings. If we were the guardians of Earth humans, we would regulate you openly. We perform a self-ordained mission which has nothing to do with supervising and regulating the fate of human beings on Earth. Even though we are hundreds of thousands of years more advanced spiritually and technically than Earth society, we are not better or superior. We are just more evolved. And as Earth humanity evolves, it will discard the barbarism and religious fanaticism that presently hampers its progress. This putting aside of fanciful religious imaginings and instead cultivating real inner standing will in no way lessen one's natural awe of life or awe in the face of cosmic creation consciousness itself. On the contrary, as one's inner standing and soul evolution increase, one's awe of cosmic creation consciousness and all life also increase. We are not teachers or missionaries or way-showers, but we do feel a duty to help developing life forms in the universe and to assist in maintaining order in the cosmos. We help young developing races emerge from ignorance by preparing them for the thought that they are not alone in the universe, that they are not the only thinking beings in existence. Also, by telepathy, we influence different races on different planets to develop certain timely inventions and certain thoughts and ideas. We don't openly contact any governments of any planet, especially on Earth, because all of the Earth governments are based on greed and power, not love and truth. All they would want from us would be our technology so they could conquer all the other countries and rule the world. And we don't openly show ourselves to the masses because they are bound by cult-like religions. People would venerate us as gods or become hysterical with fear if confronted with our presence on Earth. Therefore, it is most advisable to instead just contact one Earth human at a time and let them slowly inform humanity of our existence and our mission, and to gradually let humanity become prepared for contact with us and with all other extraterrestrial cultures. Earth humanity must grow spiritually. Or, if they expand their race into space, they would try to conquer other planets. They would meet races who have the capacity to easily defeat Earth humanity and enslave it, or completely annihilate the whole planet. If barbarous Earth humans try to export their greed and lust for power into outer space, then more powerful races will respond with terrifyingly destructive force and completely destroy the planet. There are many dangers in the universe, mostly from power-thirsty creatures who lack love in their hearts. Even if you remain in your own solar system, even if you merely remain in your own solar system, someday you will have to deal with barbarous but technologically advanced races. Only if all of Earth humanity unites into one family will you be able to fight off such evil intruders. Also, there are extraterrestrial races that are not advanced technologically, but who are under the protection of more highly developed intelligences, whose technology has reached the highest perfection of the 3D material plane. To grow spiritually, you must put aside belief and instead really work at reasoning through things and building a foundation of real knowledge and truth and the understanding of reality. You must put aside religion, for religion only suppresses you and makes you dependent upon an exterior authority. Then you can't be master of yourself. In all the universe, there is no such thing as a purely good religion. All religions create some confusion, and if you get pulled between the unreal and the real, you get lost in distortions and lies. Instead of seeking guidance through your cult-like earth religions, let universal truth and real spiritual understanding be your guide. When a human dies, their spirit goes to the fine matter or spiritual realm, where it lives as a spirit until it reincarnates into a physical body in the material earth once again. Simply because one drops the physical body through death does not automatically confer greater wisdom upon a soul. The being has no more wisdom and spiritual knowledge after death than it did before death. It is just able to see all of its mistakes and triumphs from its previous life with a much higher understanding. Therefore, it is not advisable to try to confer with dead spirits in the hopes that they will bestow great wisdom upon oneself. It is better to increase your knowing by your own spiritual labors while alive. And while there are some highly advanced spiritual beings that could give you great knowledge, and some do, these beings exist on such high planes that very few Earth humans can contact them. There are very few authentic mediums on Earth who have the ability to contact highly evolved spirits existing on the fine matter realms. However, many channelers are able to contact and be contacted by hungry ghosts in the lower astral realms. Intelligence is not genetic, but it is caused by spiritual evolution. Spiritual knowings, wisdom, and intelligence are factors of the spirit, and yet they do have a physical manifestation as certain concentrations of organic amino acids in the brain. It is possible to transplant amino acids of an advanced being into a lesser developed being, and to thus bestow great wisdom and intelligence into someone who lacks such wisdom and intelligence. When a Pleiadian woman falls in love with a less developed human from some other star system, by the use of this advanced Pleiadian science. In fact, whole races of beings can be brought up to a very high level of wisdom, knowledge, and intelligence by such means, without the need for each single individual having to go through a different evolutionary steps. Even an idiot, which is actually just a new spirit without much experience or wisdom, could be brought up to a high level of knowledge and wisdom by this method of transferring amino acids into their brain. Because intelligence is a byproduct of the evolutionary level of the spirit, the offspring of low-intelligent humans could be geniuses, and the children of highly intelligent parents could be idiots. Additionally, there can be very brilliant humans with very low spiritual development. This is because of the incoming spirit could be very highly evolved or less evolved than the parents. It all depends on the spiritual level of the reincarnating spirit and the goals of evolution for that spirit at the time. We must understand that some spirits wish to try out things on the dark side once in a while. Do not judge them. It's all a game. Deluded human earth beings consider themselves to be the only human beings in the universe, and that they are the crown of cosmic creation consciousness. We, as well as other star-traveling races, influence many good authors and writers and poets to inspire them to write of the truth, often first as science fiction or songs. This prepares the human beings for the idea that they are not the only humans in the universe. We also influence scientists so they can make certain discoveries and help the human race achieve a technical mastery appropriate for that age. As well, we try to hold back certain technological advances when appropriate to do so, such is now the case on Earth, for humans are not spiritually evolved enough to handle wisely the powers that are just on your horizon. Nor are you capable of handling nuclear power whatsoever. In this, the onset of the age of Aquarius, there are revolutionary changes happening, some good, some not so good. The worst changes are the rise of cult-like religions that perniciously control humans. During the 184 years of transition time into the age of Aquarius, from 1844 to 2028, many people who are religiously oriented will fall into fanatical delusion because of their earthly religions. Murder, suicide, exploitation of all kinds, and religious slavery due to false beliefs have become more predominant in the world. False light prophets and evangelists offering salvation publicly promote themselves and frantically search for victims to exploit. All this is happening at the same time that science is rapidly developing, and the crime rate is rising, and wars are rampant, and climate change is wreaking havoc in more and more places. Not until February 3rd, 2028 will the Golden Epoch finally be established. This day is called Initiating Breath on the Divine Mayan Tzolk'in calendar. On February 3rd, 1937, the Earth reached the end of the Piscean Age. It was at 11:20 a.m. that day that Edward Meyer was born, Billy Meyer, destined to be the prophet of truth for the new age. Billy Meyer's birthday is Empowering Serpent, Keen 5, Glyph 5, and Tone 5. The origin of these epochs is the suns circling around the great central sun of the Milky Way galaxy approximately every 25,860 years. Earth scientists call this the precession of the equinoxes, and the Maya call it the Pleiadian cycle. Most people divide it into 12 different ages named after your zodiac. We recommend including the 13th constellation Ophiuchus. Then each age will be almost exactly 2,000 years. The Earth has already entered into the outer border of an increasing band of solar energy, the photon band. This was highlighted and explained by the Maya. These golden radiations that the Earth is now receiving are the strongest and most transformative powers in the galaxy. This is because light is information, and light is love, and you are now being flooded with more love, light, and information than ever before. You also call this the Aquarian Age, and it is also the Golden Age, the New Age, or the Age of Evolution. The whole solar system and all of its creatures are influenced by this new age. All human laws that are not consistent with cosmic creation consciousness law will be discarded or refashioned so that they are in alignment with universal truth. Over many centuries, humankind will gradually discard all lies and unreason, and will arrange your society according to creational natural laws. This is a sublime and exciting and important age, for it will influence all later ages. During this time, humans will find a natural spiritual direction from within. Many in these coming centuries will still die in delusion from clinging to their religions. Fortunate will be those who flee the heresies of religion and dedicate themselves to the truth, the knowledge, and the wisdom of the Spirit within. The way-showers of this revolutionary time are those who announce the truth of knowledge and spiritual wisdom, and those who proclaim that religion does not lead to spiritual development, but to stagnation, regression, and external control. Because the way-shower's message is a direct challenge to the existing order and to the power of the religions that dominate the world and the governments that are in collusion, these way-showers will be accused of deceit and quackery. But the revelations and spiritual teachings of truth that these way-showers present to humanity are of the utmost importance, and hopefully will spread by all means as far as possible. That is our desire as Pleiadians. We allow some of you to take photographs of our beam ships to help people awaken to the truth of our existence. But we don't allow everyone to actually see our beam ships because the cognition of the reality of our existence must be founded upon spiritual wisdom that creates knowledge, understanding, and true reasoning. We will not coerce humans to convince them that we exist. Religious imaginings hamper progress in every direction and can even stifle people in the bud of their spiritual awakening. True progress only happens when religious fancies are put aside and you search for the truth where it is really hidden, deep within your soul. Barbarism of all kinds, war, torture, and rape will drop away and dissolve as humanity gains the necessary spiritual inner standing. We present the basic cosmic creation consciousness laws and truths to humanity to help them evolve, but we don't show ourselves to the masses because then we would be seen as teachers and preachers, and people would not do their own inner spiritual work that they must do. You must think for yourselves and put in effort spiritually with your own mind to elaborate the truth and gain wisdom and knowledge. Only by such self-reliance will you grow spiritually. Even if universal truth is temporarily forgotten and lost by humans, it is always everywhere available and so can be regained at any time. Truth, knowledge, wisdom, and unconditional love are eternal and unchanging. At the high point of entry into the Aquarian age, all that is spirit obstructing and spirit enslaving will be eradicated. Only those who are spiritually minded will remain and be reincarnated on earth. Those with true spiritual wisdom and abilities will dominate the world graciously, and all those without the inclination to attune themselves to higher spheres of the spiritual world and to walk and live in harmony with others will no longer be present on earth. A global culture of true harmony, balance, and spiritual love will be created on earth. Part 3. The Crossroads. Humanity is faced with the option of continuing to follow organized religions and governments, or to turn instead to universal spiritual principles. It is this choice that could determine the fate of the world. The 7 basic principles of spirituality that the Pleiadians have presented to Earth offer a philosophy that could save us from self-destruction. Chapter 11. Organized religion versus universal spiritual principles. In the hope that humanity could be turned away from its self-destructive path, the Pleiadians contacted Billy Meier and taught him the universal principles of spirituality. They did this because of the compassion they felt for us. They see us trapped in false religious teachings that are creating suffering on a global scale. We are guided by false dogmas instead of universal truth. The Pleiadians say that if we turn to the 7 universal spiritual principles they have presented, oneness, eternal evolution of spirit, self-responsibility, love, balance, truth, and equality, then we can create a world of peace, joy, happiness, and harmony like they have done. For millennia, we have tried to create a functional civilization upon this world, only to fail again and again. The Pleiadians told Billy that the primary reason we haven't been able to create a unified, peaceful world civilization is because we are so wedded to our irrational, dogmatic, authoritarian religions and governments. Only when we turn aside from belief and instead turn to universal spiritual principles will we achieve world peace. We need to learn how to discriminate between truth and falsehood, between belief and fact, between dogma and reality. We need to start applying the scientific process to our beliefs and to the ideas by which we live our lives. We need to examine and discard the fossilized ideas that no longer serve us. Like concerned elder brothers, the Pleiadians are trying to help us grow up, to put aside our childishness and become sane and wise adults instead of irrational, immature adolescents. To this end, they have presented us with an alternative approach to life, a tried and true approach that has worked for them and for countless other civilizations throughout our galaxy. The Bafath. The Pleiadians who contacted Billy were guided by love and empathy to do all they could to help us. Unfortunately, other Pleiadians were not of such benevolent character. All Pleiadians are descendants of Lyrians or Lyrans, ETs from the constellation of Lyra in our Milky Way galaxy. who had repeatedly colonized and then abandoned Earth for millions of years. They, the Lyrans, also colonized the Pleiades and many other star systems in this galaxy. Thousands of years ago, when the Lyran Pleiadians were living on Earth, they split into two groups: the malevolent, power-hungry Baphath, and the spiritually minded ones that we now call the Pleiadians. The Baphath were a splinter group of Lyrans that broke away from the main body of their race because they still sought power and domination, like their ancient Lyran ancestors. The more evolved and loving Pleiadians living on Earth gained complete control of the planet and exiled the Baphath from planet Earth about 3,000 years ago. The Baphath first went to a nearby star system, but shortly afterwards they secretly returned and hid in a deserted city built long ago under the pyramids of Egypt. There, using their highly developed psychic powers to influence and dominate many world leaders, they plotted and schemed to take over the planet by encouraging blind faith and religious fanaticism, along with political chaos and tyranny. Semjase told Billy that in the 20th century, the Baphath had 723 Earth humans completely under their negative telepathic influence, and that 27 of these contactees were world-famous leaders. Adolf Hitler was one leader that they psychically dominated and guided. Interestingly, in an article about Adolf Hitler's psyche in May 1st, 1995 issue of the New Yorker magazine, Ron Rosenbaum claims that in 1918, Adolf Hitler heard an inner voice telling him that his destiny was to lead Germany again to greatness. And no one has ever been able to adequately explain Hitler's extraordinary charisma and mesmeric power over the German populace, which seemed to evolve overnight. Perhaps his powers were derived telepathically from the Baphath. Quite possibly the Shroud of Turin, that piece of cloth which was purportedly to be the burial shroud of Emmanuel, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, was a Baphath creation. With their highly advanced technology, they could have easily fabricated such a thing in the 14th century. This is when carbon dating places the origin of the shroud, if you believe the results that are reported. According to Semjase, the miracle of Fatima, which occurred from May 13th to October 13th, 1917 at Fatima, Portugal, was a hoax perpetrated by the Baphath. The Baphath used one of their beam ships, just like the Pleiadian beam ships, to create the miracle of a shining sun, and they used their telepathic abilities to project images and thoughts into 3 Portuguese children, deceiving them into believing that Mother Mary was talking to them, and that Mary was giving the world a warning that it must turn to Catholicism or suffer global catastrophe. The Baphath and the Baha'i faith. And while the Pleiadians do not say anything about the Baha'i faith, it is my personal suspicion that this world religion, which started in Persia in the middle of the last century, may well have been created by the Baphath in an attempt to create a religion that could eventually facilitate their attaining of world domination. The goal of the Baphath was to encourage religious fanaticism and social unrest, so that the world would become so chaotic that Earth humanity would welcome the Baphath as saviors and rescuers, and thus they would take over the planet as all-powerful rulers. This can be seen as the approach called problem-reaction-solution. It is curious that the word Baphath and Baha'i faith are almost anagrams of each other. The Baha'i faith was founded in 1844 in Iran by a Persian named Baha'u'llah and another Persian called the Bab, who was the herald for Baha'u'llah. They claimed that this new religion will be the law for the entire planet and that it will bring universal peace and harmony to the whole world because it is a divinely created religion. The Baha'i faith is a religion out of the same mold as Christianity and Islam. It has three basic tenets, according to William Hatcher and J. Douglas Martin's book, The Baha'i Faith, the Emerging Global Religion. These three principles are oneness of God, oneness of mankind, and the fundamental unity of religion. Number 1, the first principle states that God exists and is a supernatural being who is omnipotent, omniscient, and is too complex for humanity to even comprehend. This God is the ruler of the universe, and mankind must obey him absolutely. 2. The second principle states that humanity is one species, and even though there are different races and ethnic groups, all humanity are inherently equal. 3. The third principle states that God sends messengers to progressively reveal religion to humanity. These messengers, or prophets of God, reveal the truth in a gradual way so mankind can evolve little by little. No religion opposes another, rather, they are all merely different steps in man's eternal education. The authors Hatcher and Martin say that the Baha'i faith emphasizes equality between the sexes, unity between science and religion, independent investigation of truth, no ministry or priesthood, abandonment of prejudice and superstition, universal education, economic justice for all, and the abolition of extremes of poverty and great wealth, having one auxiliary international language, and the spiritual foundation of society. The latter means that there would be a world government based on Baha'i principles. Thus, the governing body of the Baha'i faith would also be the ruling body for the secular world as well. The Baha'i have a very specific plan for taking over the world and governing it and creating a unified world. Baha'is encourage interracial marriage, and they place great emphasis upon the importance of hospitality and treating everyone with love, kindness, and compassion. There is much about the Baha'i faith that is truly commendable, and it is possible that in the near future a sizable portion of humanity might very well turn to that religion to create a new world order. But it is with very mixed feelings that I say that. The Baha'i faith totally denies any validity whatsoever to the principle of reincarnation, and it is really just an extremely authoritarian religion that has a rule for just about everything. Their book of rules that must be obeyed tells you how and what you may and may not do is interminable, reaching into every area of one's personal life. Additionally, instead of reincarnation, you are told that you must develop yourself while on earth, or else when you die and go to the Abha kingdom, heaven that is, and if you arrive with deficient qualities, you are thus prevented from growing spiritually within heaven for eternity. To be insufficiently developed in character and thus prevented from evolving spiritually is equivalent to being condemned to hell, according to the Baha'i beliefs. So followers are under great pressure to follow the commandments and rules and regulations, or else they risk eternal stagnation. Certainly a kinder fate than the torments of eternal damnation that supposedly awaits the fallen Catholics and those who stray from the Bible-based fundamentalist sects. Cults, that is. One of their most unusual and dangerous tenets of the Baha'i faith is that followers must absolutely and unquestionably obey their government, no matter how corrupt and evil it has become. They are to never revolt or try in any way to secretly undermine or subvert their government. Could this be a preparation for eventual dictatorship ruling humanity? The God of the Baha'i faith is very much like the God of the Old Testament. He is angry, vengeful, unforgiving, fear-evoking God of power and might. Jehovah, a Lyran despot. Combine that with all the do's and don'ts of the religion that you have to obey, and it all can easily make a neurotic mess of one's mind. You become caught between what you are and what you should be, between what you want to do and what you are forbidden to do. The refusal to accept reincarnation and the extreme emphasis on a God figure judging you are what make this a religion that, if followed, will, in my opinion, hinder the true spiritual development of humanity. I suspect that the miracle of the Bab, the other Persian who joined in with the formation of this, was also the doing of the Ba'ath. The Bab was a prophet in the mid-1800s who was a precursor to Baha'u'llah, and who prepared the way for the creation of the Baha'i faith. The Islamic clergy at that time saw the Bab as a threat to their power, and so they conspired to have him executed. They convinced the authorities that the Bab was corrupting the minds of the young and was perverting Islam, and the political authorities sentenced him to death by firing squad. When arrested, the Bab was dictating a letter to his secretary. He told the arresting officers that he was willing to be killed, but only after he finished dictating the letter. The commanding officer told him that he couldn't allow that, and so the Bab was taken out and put before a squad of 750 soldiers with rifles. They tied him to a post and then began firing away. When the smoke from the guns had dispersed, the Bab had disappeared. But the commanding officer said that it wasn't a miracle, they had just accidentally shot the ropes off of him instead. Searching around for him, they found the Bab back where they had originally arrested him, in his home, just as he was finishing dictating that letter. The commanding officer left town with his men, deciding that he wanted nothing to do with this matter. So another group of soldiers were sent, and they arrested and then actually executed the Bab. For the Ba'ath, it would be a simple matter to position a beam ship above where he was to be executed the first time, and to keep their craft invisible, of course. Since the Pleiadians had such advanced technology, the splinter group of the Ba'ath surely had the same technology, which would enable them to cloak their beam ship and to extend a force field around the Bab's body, protecting him and creating a seemingly divine miracle in which only the ropes were shot off him. People would then quite naturally assume that God had protected his divinely appointed messenger, until he allowed him to be killed a few days later. And therefore, humanity should obey whatever the Bab and his successor, the Baha'u'llah, demanded of us from the Baha'i faith. In 1978, the Pleiadians removed all the Ba'ath from Earth and destroyed their underground city beneath the pyramids after the Ba'ath tried to openly assassinate Billy Meyer. The Ba'ath regarded Billy as a great threat to their goal of world domination because he was revealing the truth about them to the world. They had tried secretly to kill him previously, but each time Billy escaped unharmed. Then, in desperation, the Ba'ath tried to openly attack him with one of their beam ships. They attempted to bomb Billy's house, which would have killed his entire family too. The Pleiadians, who were actively monitoring the situation, of course, moved in with one of their cloaked beam ships and positioned it right above Billy's house, thus shielding it from the weapons systems of the Ba'ath beam ship. This egregious attack prompted the Pleiadians to capture all of the Ba'ath and exile them to a far distant solar system. This act was the checkmate move that finally defeated the Ba'ath. For millennia, the Pleiadians and the Ba'ath have been playing a cosmic chess game on Earth. It started when the Lyrian warlord Jehovah created the first world religion and declared himself to be God. The Pleiadians tried to rectify the damage done by their own ancestors by bringing Emmanuel, Yeshua, to earth to disseminate the teachings of true spirituality. That effort was then blocked by the Ba'ath's influencing of humanity to distort Emmanuel's teachings and create the false belief of Jesus Christ and the Christian religion. Then, according to Billy's recent writings, the Pleiadians created the Islamic religion to counter the advance of Christianity. Like the way firefighters used to fight fire, the Pleiadians used one religion to neutralize another. And Islam did stop the advance of Christianity and prevented it from taking over the whole world. Now, this is Crispy chiming in here. It seems likely that the Ba'ath would have countered that maneuver by infiltrating and creating certain segments of Islam that are, let's say, not peaceful. The Ba'ath could therefore then be the same people that David Icke calls the reptilians, and who are also creating the belief in the eternal war between good and evil that poisons the minds of most people of all Abrahamic religions. And now back to Jean Andrade. Then, I believe, the Ba'ath created another religion, the Baha'i faith, in hopes that through it they could eventually dominate the earth. The Pleiadians countered that move by having Billy Meier incarnate, and then using him as a spokesman for spreading their teachings of truth. The Ba'ath attempted to eliminate the threat Billy posed to their plans by trying to assassinate him. That was the final justification the Pleiadians needed to capture the Ba'ath and exile them to another solar system. With the removal of all the Ba'ath, perhaps that was the removal of the power behind the Baha'i faith. Maybe now humanity will freely choose a philosophy of truth rather than continuing to submit to authoritarian religions. How wonderful it would be if humanity would just adopt the basic tenets of the Baha'i faith and discard the whole religion itself. Channeling. There are more and more books and websites and YouTube channels on the market now that proclaim to be channeling messages from the Pleiadians than ever before. Billy said that the Pleiadians were very clear and emphatic in stating that channeled information was extremely suspect, and that most such channelings were simply the product of people's subconscious imaginings. If you read such books with a keenly awake and discriminative mind, you can easily discern the truth from the false. And this is Crispy chiming in here again. Even in this book, we have been informed that there are more than one type of Pleiadians. So someone might be channeling Pleiadians, and that might be true, but that information could be less than peaceful. Now back to Jean. Many people around the world claim to channel a being called Ashtar, who presents himself as the leader of the Pleiadians. Semjase told Billy Meier that Ashtar was a member of the Ba'ath who broke away from that group and was in hiding. Even with all their technology, the Pleiadians are unable to locate where Ashtar and his group of followers are. They don't know what planet or even what dimension they are abiding in. Communications from Ashtar are questionable because, according to Semjase, only some of what they say is true. Crispy here again. All false prophets and all dark light teachings use lots of truth to lure people in, but they always slip in lies based on control, doubt, and fear. Now back to Jean. The Pleiadians did not explain in detail just what parts of Ashtar's messages were true and what were false, but they did say that Ashtar was far more benevolent than Ba'ath, but still a false light teacher. There are also a number of people claiming to be contactees of the Pleiadians who are acting as their spokespersons, and they are actually getting very rich and famous in the process. Discernment into the character of these contactees will enable you to assess who is real and who is fraud. And again, there are many types of Pleiadians. The Pleiadian Federation. The Pleiadians live in a society that is a federation of many worlds and consists of about 124 billion humans. They have universal peace and live harmoniously with each other, except for all of the ones that branch away. They have gone beyond war because they have turned to true spirituality to guide their lives. Their decisions are based on logic, love, and truth, rather than on fear, greed, and ego. It is this turning to real spirituality, rather than to dogmatic and irrational earthly religions and governments, that is the next essential step for Earth humanity. Ptah, the father of Semjase, told Billy that only on Earth do such cultist religions still exist in the solar system. Truth, that which is reality. This is what people on other planets throughout this galaxy have for their religions. Ptah specifically said that although Christianity and Islam are the worst enemies of truth, all of our religions are cultish, heretical, and are preventing us from evolving spiritually, and that includes all governments. Ptah said that the ETs are quite concerned that humanity will try to export Earth religions and consequently spread discord throughout the galaxy. The Pleiadians, along with a number of extraterrestrial races, are trying to educate humanity out of its dependence upon these cultist religions so that we can become attuned to cosmic creation consciousness and learn to live in peace and harmony. Otherwise, when we achieve spaceflight, we will probably try to export our religions and our barbarism throughout the galaxy. Crispy chiming in again here. I believe it to be a cosmic truth that we will not be able to leave this planet unless we have fully abandoned war. Back to Jean. Earth religions do have their good qualities, and because there are many eternal truths contained in world religions, they have helped and continue to help many people to be more loving and more truthful and happy. It is the dogmas, the falsehoods, and the rigid and irrational thinking patterns fostered by religions that the Pleiadians say are detrimental for humanity's spiritual evolution. If we are to evolve to the Pleiadians' level, we must put aside our false ideas and turn to universal truth and unconditional love, the one true spirituality. A quantum leap forward in evolution is possible by facing the primal cause of the world's woes and correcting that cause. We do what we do because of our beliefs, all of us. And our beliefs are essentially dictated by our religions and governments. Because they are out of alignment with reality, we have a world that is inharmonious and full of suffering. So the primal cause of the innumerable problems of the world today is our cult-like religions and governments. By awakening to the realization and turning to universal truth, to our true inner spirituality, we can come into harmony with all of life, and then we can have a Pleiadian type of society, where there is universal peace and happiness. Wrong thinking. That religions and governments tend to foster wrong thinking patterns is eloquently shown in a book called Feeling Good by David Burns, MD. Although the book does not in any way mention actual religions or governments, the pathological types of thinking he describes are very prevalent in the religious and political-minded people. Here are some examples, in my own words, of what he terms cognitive distortions of reality. Number 1. All or nothing thinking and perfectionism. Black and white categorization such as, if I don't get married by the time I'm 30, I'll never get married. Or, if I believe in Jesus, then everything in my life will be saved. And if I believe in God, I won't need to take responsibility for myself. This category also includes impossible and unrealistic standards leading to self-condemnation and guilt, such as, I must be as perfect as Jesus or I won't be accepted by God. 2. Mental filter and the magnifying or minimizing of the importance of things. Selectively focusing on one small aspect of something and then exaggerating your judgment all out of proportion and believing that this tiny detail determines the reality of the whole. For example, because as a child I hated my mother and wished she would die, I am a terrible sinner and I am doomed to burn in hell for all eternity. 3. Emotional reasoning. Because I feel this so intensely, it must be true. Or, because I felt so much more elated when I prayed to God in a Catholic church than in a Protestant church, the God of the Catholics must be the real God. 4. The reasoning of should. For example, the Bible says, I should love everyone or I won't go to heaven after I die. Or, I should go to confession regularly or else I'll be barred from paradise. 5. Overgeneralizing, labeling, and mislabeling. Quote, my latest business deal failed. Therefore, I'm a total failure in life. I was born to lose. Or, only Christians can go to heaven, and all others are worthless sinners who are doomed to burn in hell forever, because Jesus is the only true prophet of God. 6. Jumping to conclusions, magical thinking, and fortune-telling. Arbitrarily deciding that something is true, without scientifically or rationally determining beforehand whether your conclusion is valid or factually correct. Rational beliefs in omens or signs and the immature response to such. Believing that you can know what the future will be because of some preacher's prophecy. When the black cat walked across my path, I knew that I shouldn't have moved to that neighborhood. I'm going to sell all my property and give everything to my church because my evangelist told me the world is going to end next week anyway, and we will all be going to heaven via the rapture. 7. Personalization. You see yourself as the center of the universe and the cause of all external events. My house burned down because I stopped going to church. All of these are wrong ways of thinking, which are so prevalent in our present-day society and must be put aside and replaced with logical, rational, mature ways of thinking if we're ever going to evolve into a sane and peaceful society. Again and again, the Pleiadians stressed that our destiny is in our own hands. If we want a better world, we can create it with our beliefs. There is a charming earth fable relating to the principle that we have the power in our own hands to determine the outcome events. It goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a tribe of Indians who had the custom of choosing their chief by determining who was the wisest of their people to lead them. Whoever could defeat the chief by proving him to be wrong about something, and thereby showing him not to be all wise, could then become the new chief. A brash young brave decided he wanted to challenge the chief, and so he cleverly planned to trick the old wise man. He would capture a little bird and then confront the chief by saying, "What do I have in my hand, a dead bird or a live bird?" Then said the brave to himself, "If the chief says that the little sparrow is alive, I will crush it to death in my hand. And if he declares that I am holding a dead bird, I will release it from my hand, and as it flies away, I will then become the new chief." So he captured a little sparrow and, clutching the bird so that only the tail feathers stuck out from between his fingers, he challenged the old chief to divine the status of the bird. The old man replied, "Well, son, that all depends on you." Additionally, the popular gospel song, "He's got the whole world in his hands," is completely wrong. It is you who have the whole world in your hands. And it is all of us collectively that make our world what it is. If we want the world to be different, it is our obligation as individuals to change our own lives. This and this alone will bring about a better world. Pleiadian spirituality. Most Earth humans are accustomed to following a religion that has an all-powerful deity figure at its center. This facilitates a false sense of security because one can believe that a father or mother figure is looking out for one's good. Pleiadian spirituality, on the other hand, is wide open as the universe, in fact. It is based upon the truth that cosmic creation consciousness is the center of you. You must find a sense of security within your very own being by finding your inner connection with cosmic creation consciousness. Pleiadian spirituality is different in many ways from earthly spirituality. For example, instead of duality and multiplicity like God, Christ, the Holy Spirit, or multiple religions or multiple deities, there is the principle of oneness. Instead of heaven or hell or nirvana and samsara, there is the principle of the eternal evolution of the soul. Instead of saviors, avatars, gurus, popes, and priests, there is the principle of self-responsibility. Instead of the often false and fickle emotionalism of earthlings, there is the principle of unconditional love. Instead of the chaos, fanaticism, and imbalance so characteristic of the individual societies on earth, there is the principle of true and real balance. Instead of dogmas and falsehoods, there is the principle of universal truth. And instead of the widespread discrimination, suppression, and repression of women and all minorities that are non-white, there is the principle of complete, unconditional equality. These 7 basic principles provide the foundation for a philosophy of life that is conducive to real spiritual growth and harmonious transformation of both individuals and society as a whole. If these principles encourage you to feel more free thinking, to take more self-responsibility, and to have more love and compassion for others, then this book will have served its purpose. By using these ideas for stimulation, inspiration, and encouragement, it is possible to think new thoughts, to broaden and open your mind and heart, to learn flexibility of thinking, to expand your consciousness, and to be free. This Pleiadian material is fascinating, enlightening, and exciting to learn about, but it is also very iconoclastic and challenging to many of our basic beliefs about life, death, God, etc. So when we are confronted with this cosmic viewpoint, we are compelled to do a lot of soul-searching, reflection, introspection, and growing up. But isn't that exactly what we as a race must do? We are destroying our planet, killing each other, and rapidly heading towards a hellish future. We need to stop and reflect upon our actions and beliefs and turn away from the path of greed, lust for power, and ignorance that is so characterized by our religions and governments. Pleiadian spirituality offers humanity a real and viable alternative. They are offering us a way of truth, a way of hope for a better future that offers a rational and sane explanation for our past and our present. I believe that if we as a race are to grow up and face reality and to evolve spiritually, we can have a planet with no starvation, no violence, no hatred, no bigotry, no irrationality, no ignorance, and of course, no war. We can have a society that is peaceful and loving and where every living being is taken care of. For this to happen, though, we must put aside the false imaginings of our lives, subservience to an omnipotent and omniscient God, rigid and irrational authoritarian religious dogma and creeds, rigid and irrational governments, and deluded and wishful yearnings for an anthropomorphic God or E.T. who will absolve us from taking responsibility for our own growth. All of this must be swept behind. Instead, we must face ourselves as we are, confronting reality as it is. We must arm ourselves with knowledge and clear thinking if we intend to create heaven on earth, which truly is our destiny. The message of Pleiadian spirituality is that we must learn to trust in cosmic creation consciousness as being within us and us as being within it, to trust in life, to trust in ourselves, and to strive to discover the ever-present blissful spirit of love and truth that is who we really are. Semjase said that even when traveling from planet to planet through the great emptiness of space, she felt the constant comfort of cosmic creation consciousness. She said, "When you love the truth, then you love what is perfect and wonderful, and you love what exists. For the truth embodies the spiritual kingdom itself, and also the way to the kingdom of wisdom. Then you are conscious of cosmic creation consciousness being present here and now, in everything and everywhere. Even in the depths of space, you are comforted by knowing that cosmic creation consciousness is there with you and that you are cosmic creation consciousness." When we each see cosmic creation consciousness as ourself, then we will naturally treat all beings with love, kindness, and integrity. When we as a whole planet do this, there will obviously be peace on earth.